Yeah, this is why I was like very hesitant about this guy, Robby Starbuck, the guy that's gone out and pointed out like, hey, Tractor Supply, hey, Harley Davidson, you guys are propagating all these things that you don't want. His strategy, what he did to get corporations to change, is precisely what Vani Hari was doing 7-8 years ago, where she was saying, hey, Subway, we found out that your bread has a chemical in it that's the same as yoga mats. We're going to go out and put this negative ad campaign. And Subway is like, whatever we have to do to make this stop, we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And as that energy grows, that mob grows behind these people and they get more and more emotion, then they can target it at these companies. And what will get like washed away in this is that people will gleefully say, we need to get rid of this glyphosate. And the politicians aren't going to stop this. They're going to say, oh, if this is what it takes for me to get elected, then I'll get rid of glyphosate too. And suddenly we'll be using all sorts of other herbicides that like are way worse, and then they'll just start targeting those. Like, if you can get rid of glyphosate, you can get rid of anything.
Yeah, and I think this is the really interesting thing about all of this, and just the way we are with, you know, as you mentioned, like social media dictating consumer perception dictating like laws and regulation, and this circle, like chicken before the egg, right? Like, who knows where it starts, but it's this revolving component of something affecting something. And when you have activists, I guess, let's just label them under that. This is where I kind of have an issue with it. It was people who are like, and I talked about this on the podcast with glyphosate. You know, if you want to stake your claim and glyphosate is bad, you can rally a whole lot of people behind you. That you can rally people within agriculture, conventional, non, like you can get people who are like, yeah, like we should be, you know, looking at something different, whatever. You can get all the consumers, all the people behind you. But the bigger question is then what's next, right? And I feel like activists in these platforms, they just care about the one mission. It's like checking the box of, I need to get rid of glyphosate, right? Like there was one speaker on the panel, that was her talking point. Get rid of glyphosate, get rid of glyphosate. It's everywhere. It's killing us. It's sprayed in the millions, like talking point after talking point after talking point. My point is like, okay, well then what's next? Because now are we going to have to like bring in, you know, like a workforce to do all the weeding and tilling that the glyphosate, you know, was doing for us before? Like, we got there for a reason. That's one of the things I say on the podcast all the time is like, we got somewhere for a reason. It's because we didn't have the man-forced labor or crops were being decimated or whatever it is. Like, glyphosate was created for a reason. It solved a problem, right? You take that away. Do people want to get into like labor force conversation? I mean, sure, it'll be migrant workers out there, you know, like, is that the next stepping point? Like, where does it end? Like, when you have these conversations of like what you are advocating for and advocating against. And I feel like so many people in today's, especially when you get out of the lane and are talking about things that you maybe don't have the background classroom expertise in, or two, or the practical. So case in point, someone on, you know, a 4-hour roundtable that lives in Colorado that just cares about food necessarily doesn't understand what's going on like on the farm practice level. Sure, you take away glyphosate, but like, what's your solution? What comes next? Like, a lot of the rippling effects aren't that much better. Like, we'll probably see greenhouse gas emissions increase. We already have a labor force and agriculture problem. Like, how do we solve that? Like, I think that's my big issue with these activist points. It's like, you stay so narrow focused. It's like you've lost sight of what the entire big picture is. And I think that's really scary when you said it could dictate what happens on our actual farms and ranches.